Welcome, Radio FM 88. This is a Thursday night here in Queensland, just gone past 7 o'clock. And tonight's introduction is courtesy of my colleague here, Julia Chai, and she's brought forward Mauricio Murillo. And I have to say, just sitting in the studio, listening while we're putting the studio together, it's been an awesome experience. And we're in for a treat for those people who are into agricultural sustainability, and more importantly, anyone who's wished to have a home-based garden or maybe acreage, or maybe just wants to work with people. I think it's well worth watching the show and then spreading the news. So with all that, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Julia.
Thank you, Jeff. Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Dreaming the New Dream. We're delighted to have Mauricio Murillo, my Colombian friend, who is also the co-founder of FIBO, join us tonight. Now, the reason we have brought in Mauricio is because we know among our audience there are a lot of people who are interested in agricultural sustainability, climate change, etc. We had a couple of months ago, we had Joy Foley up, who had spent a whole year being plastic free and was setting up a forest permaculture garden. And we're following that interest up now, of course, because the dream is for humanity to live in harmony and sustainably with nature. And one of the new trends, that I've certainly noticed as a former economist is that there's this word called upcycling, which is about taking what was traditionally treated as waste and creating that, adding value to that into products. And some of it is new innovation, and some of it is taking old traditional techniques that have been in. So, Mauricio, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for inviting me today. Yep.
Great. So just as an introduction, when I first met you, you told me that you've been studying agriculture as doing a master's in Colombia, and you ended up working with the organic mountain coffee growers, and that you helped them in, they had a difficulty because they were quite small, being on the mountains. They wanted to be organic, but at that time, companies, buyers like Sara Lee were not interested many, many years ago.
That's right. That's true. When I met you, a long time ago, I think that's 10 years, we were talking about these basic problems of 91% of the coffee is waste. Basically, the fruit, the leaves, and the coffee itself is a lot of waste. And I pursue a research when I was doing my master's, and I found that 41 different new products can be done. And there is a neglection about how the research has been done, basically because it's more about the beans use and the roasting and all about the brewing, but nobody talks about the benefits of the fruits and the mucilage and the skin and the leaves and the flowers and all the timber, which they have huge value. I think now is a good time to start thinking about upcycling all this agricultural waste from coffee and other crops. Yes.
So, in terms of sort of coffee, is it actually a crop that's traditional to Colombia originally, or was it introduced?
Coffee was introduced into Colombia in the 1800s, and they've been growing coffee all around Colombian mountains. And for whatever reason, Colombia is the only country in the world that produces crops every 20 days in different parts of the regions. You can crop all year round. There are big crops and medium crops, but all the year you can crop coffee, and it's well known to be in the best or the most soft coffee. And a lot of people use it as a filler, as a bulky coffee or instant coffee, but they don't know that there are more than 600,000 families that live from coffee, and they are in a slavery circle because they depend of the Colombian Coffee Federation, and Colombian Coffee Federation only managed everyone, and they pay whatever they want to pay, and that's basically why we need to encourage people to start doing the upcycling and using other byproducts. They have more value as well.
Okay, so they by adding value or selling byproducts from the coffee, that will help the farmers because they're not making enough money. You were saying using the term slave, they're not making enough money to support themselves with the current system of buying coffee.
They're not making enough money, and basically, to give you just one example, 1 ton of coffee timber in the market is the most fine timber, and it could cost around $5,000 already fixed or polished or whatever. And they normally burn all the timber every year. They cut 20% of the plant, and they burn everything. And this is a byproduct, basically just the timber, just to mention one. On top of that, they pollute the rivers with the mucilage and the skin and the fruits, because they are very rich in nutrients, but once you're in contact with water, they will kill all the fish and everything else. They use it sometimes for composting. Composting is a good source for feeding the plants, but I think people in their minds, they think this is the only solution to use the waste for composting. They don't understand that if you crop the plant, not just the fruit, but the plant and the residues, you can obtain amazing byproducts. And these byproducts process can give maybe twice or 3 times the income of the normal crop.
Okay. So you mentioned the timber, and then today you've brought us a beautiful jar of Cascara tea.
Yes.
And I'm just going to open it up because I'd heard about this, but I didn't have any. So
Yes.
it kind of looks like sort of plum rose leaves. And this is actually made from the coffee fruit itself, the skin, is it?
This is the coffee skin and the flesh. We have a system in FIBO. We dry before 8 hours because otherwise it could be very toxic. And the process needs to be quick, and we try to obtain a good concentrated antioxidants. And you can drink it as a tea. It's very good for your guts, and it's very good for digestion. And give you a lot of antioxidants.
Antioxidants. So Jeff's just about to have his first sip of Cascara tea. Have you tried it yet, Jeff?
I have, and I'm a tea connoisseur, so it's really quite. It's got something to it, doesn't it?
So what does it remind you of me? For me, it was a cross between oolong and plum. Actually, is what it reminds me. And then it's got that sort of nice smoky flavour.
Well, it's definitely refreshing. No question about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good.
And it's good for our guts, so that's great.
Yeah, and we can drink cold or hot, whatever you prefer. I drink it cold and hot.
Jeff, you're laughing, but you could always sell it to an Asian if it's good for you. Okay.
Actually, we have very good response. We've been testing this Cascara for the last year, and people love it. People love it because it's good for make your mind very sharp, and also cleanse your guts and help with the digestion. Yes, and that's good.
So, in terms of if people want to try it out, with the Colombian coffee farmers, you did start off. You've set up a couple of different enterprises, but you started off with your website where you people are actually able to buy directly from you, and therefore directly from the farmers, cutting out the multinationals. Is that right?
We start a system of selling. We're buying directly from the producers. In this case, organic and sustainable coffees, natural coffees, and from those producers, we pay a higher price, as like people don't. In the international New York Exchange market, the price maybe is $1.50 per pound. We normally pay $2 or $3 per pound, or sometimes $4 American dollars, and we import it. And basically, when we roast, we sell it to specialty roasters, and whatever we sell, we recover $1 per kilo. and we send it back for a foundation for kids to become coffee farmers, and they become baristas and trainers. Yeah.
Okay, so you have a foundation, and it's a fair trade structure.
It is like, it's called Fundemos. It's yeah. That's a FIBO structure. Yes. With FIBO, we work with different ways, agricultural ways. FIBO means farming innovation by process operation. Our main products are coffee, pineapple, and sugarcane. In Australia, we focus a lot in the coffee and pineapple. In pineapple, you can obtain a lot of fibers from the leaves, and you can obtain some dry fruits as well from the pineapples. They are basically seconds, or they cannot sell it in the market. It's still edible and still good. And we are in process of researching a little bit, obtaining other bromelain and other proteins as well. Yes.
Yeah, for our international viewers, I mean, if you live in Queensland, as everybody kind of equates you to being a pineapple grower, sugarcane. So we've got plenty of pineapples. We used to export them. I'm just going to bring up pictures of the farm that you're working at. And the beautiful shirt, which looks like the one that you're wearing. Is that the same thing?
It is the same fabric. It's made with 30% pineapple leaf fiber, which is called pulp, and 70% organic cotton. The benefit of the pulp is that it doesn't pollute the environment, and it's only use 1 liter of water per kilo. And basically, it's very sustainable, and it's a waste. It's for free. Then what we're doing is cropping the fiber and getting return to the farmer, cleaning the crops, and basically giving the opportunity for the farmer to leave the soil rest without any insecticides or herbicides or fumigants that will clean totally the soil and make it more productive. Even 30% production can increase in the farm.
Yeah, that's really exciting, because I know that the cotton farmers are under a lot of fire because, we've obviously had droughts, and cotton growing takes up a lot of water, and I think they're feeling threatened, and they're being encouraged by the government to switch, to become more sustainable. So by buying waste from neighboring pineapple farms, mixing that into clothes, that would be a better way, would it?
Will be an excellent solution. Yeah, I think Australia has the potential to mix at least 20 or 30% of the pineapple leaf fiber and produce with the cotton an excellent material to export everywhere, or just produce some textiles if they want to do it. The quality is amazing, strength is stronger, it's more lasts longer, it's easy to dye with natural products. It's plus benefits everywhere there.
Yeah, and it's not new. I mean, the making shirts from pineapple fiber is quite big in the Philippines, isn't it? So it's not a new thing that you have to invent. You have a textile industry that can actually deal with that, and probably could do with the work. Have you joined up with any teams, textile factories in Philippines? How did you go about that?
Yeah, we were to the Philippines and talked to the government Fiber Research Institute, and they send us to the factories where they produce all the textiles. But they cannot produce too many textiles because all the technology is manual labor, and they takes very long to extract the fiber. Then that's why we develop systems for extraction. Special machines, the corticators, with 10 times more capacity for production, with not too many people working around, 20, 30 people. We just doing with 1 or 2 people, and we can produce until 1.3 tons of pulp a day.
Okay, and that's got application, the fiber. I mean, I remember when Volkswagen announced that they were going to use banana tree fiber in their cars. Everybody in Europe got really excited. Is that sort of, are you exploring applications in the automotive and industrial area as well?
We are thinking to explore some composites, mix of pineapple and banana, to use in cars, but basically still very polluted. In some cases, bananas they don't have the quality yet, and the process needs to be refined. But I will say soon, definitely is a new trend to use banana leather, pineapple leather, vegan leather, just name it. Everything could be more sustainable and more clean. Yes.
And in terms of inventing these machines, are you getting any government support in terms of exploring these new upcycling options for the Queensland agriculture?
Unfortunately, we've been paying everything from our own pockets. I'm lucky that we have another company called Mr. Coffees, and that company is almost paying everything. We got an incentive we call R&D, which is research and development from government, which is a return of some taxes. Yes, we try to employ at least 10 people at the moment, but since the coronavirus make us stop 10 different projects, we had to cut staff, and it has been tough.
Yeah, I'm really surprised, because I would have thought, I knew you were at UQ for a long time, and I would have thought that the government would actually be encouraging this kind of investing in this kind of work.
I shouldn't say this, but normally, yes, there are lots of funds, but there is proof of concept, and we're still in the R&D, and the majority of the research is funded through universities, and they have to do big, deep research. Well, this one, I know, I apply my knowledge, and I have internship people working for us, and they have the knowledge, the experience, the research. We apply for many grants, but never we get success.
Do you get frustrated? I mean, you've got this dream. You're having to fund it yourself. You've got this dream of using upcycling, existing resources. Sort of, what drives you to, I mean, you could just keep on selling coffee and not worry about this. But what keeps you going, Mauricio?
I think what it drives me towards this project is to see all the goodness of and benefits of the byproducts, and see how people are neglected by the information, and they should get a little bit more information. Even without help from government, I think we still pursue. Will take us a long time, but if we will get some funds or anything, definitely. We were approached by Chinese enterprises last month. I hope these people will help us. Looks like they're very keen, and also we have some experimentation in Colombia. And even Colombian government is going to give us some funds, but still we need to put the application towards an Australian company and to be recognized in Colombia and be like a joint venture with Colombian companies as
register,
well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Jeff, you've got we need to raise $600,000 page up there.
I mean, when you're always going out with a begging bowl and someone steps up to say, we'll cover your expenses, I mean, there's always a hook in it. What do they want? So, like a bank, they want the mortgage, and they want you to take mortgage insurance.
I guess they want the IP. Is that what's stopping you from cutting a deal, Mauricio?
Sorry?
Is that what's been stopping you from cutting a deal? Is that the others want the IP? People.
We have the IP register, or is registration now, a new innovation and technology. We've been working with some Australian lawyers. They help us with the IP, but the cost of paying the IP will. I mean, if we just cover the IP, we will finish with no research, with nothing. It's too expensive. Then yes, we cover the system, the method, and one or two basic new designs, but we still need to create a little bit better prototypes, and we are in that process at the moment. Yes.
Okay. So the funding that you're currently looking for, is that for the pineapple fiber machines, or?
At the moment,
Yeah.
we are pursuing the pineapple fiber research machines. Yes, that's the main one at the moment, and we're trying to pursue a cropping in situ as well. Yeah.
Cropping in what?
Processing in the farm while the farmer is finish the crops, the harvest. We can come behind and crop all the plant waste, agricultural waste, and we can process all the byproducts, and we can create like raw materials for different industries. We can provide that material for different companies to produce different materials as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I just love that because it's it's not, you're not having to create a new material. You're using existing material grown by nature, or plant material, plant fiber.
This is all natural,
and it's growing locally, and it's there. We just actually need to collect it. And I'm kind of inspired because I know that the vineyard industry and the grape, they've done that as well. They've done it with grape seeds, extracts, and then they take the grape fruit, the actual skins, and they sell that to the feedlot industry as well to feed the cows. So the more that we can use, 15% of a whole crop being used is not enough, really, is it?
No. It's very little. Yeah.
So what are the farmers, the Australian farmers? You're working with a couple of farmers. What kind of people are
We're
they?
lucky with some local farmers from Caboolture area. Sam's farm. He's an Italian background. He worked with his wife, and he has few people working for him as well. And he's supporting us in ways that in kind he allow us to get inside. We built a warehouse, we bring equipment, machinery to do all the testing, and he's been very, very supportive to find solution for saving time for them and try to generate some byproducts from the fiber, from the pineapple, the fiber. Yes. This is sounds fun actually, yes.
Yeah, so we've got the pictures there, the team.
Yes.
Very good.
And the pineapple is at what stage is it there?
They have 10 hectares, or like 27 acres, and they crop every month. Normally in one bay, there are around 13 to 14,000 plants, but they crop twice every 18 months. And sometimes we can get in, every month we can get in and extract with the potential to extract between 13 to 26 tons of agricultural waste per bay. Then basically that gives us a lot of material to both the just one farm. We can do the same thing
from fast fashion, consequently ending up in landfills, to the chemicals used in the making of those products affecting our oceans.
Oh, that's great. So I think Jeff's got a video there.
A video? Yeah.
With the...
Sorry.
Yeah,
Did you hear that?
I did,
Yeah,
yes.
I heard that. It shouldn't have come through.
Yeah.
Fibers from crops.
Jesus
Is that showing on the screen? Or?
It will be in a sec.
Yeah. So we're just about to show you a video of showcasing the fiber, the pineapple product. So just as a quick backstory, about 2 years ago,
Yes.
Mauricio,
That's true.
I gave you a very precious gift, which is my kombucha mothership.
Yes, I remember that.
What? And you said you were going to grow her in the bathtub.
I've been growing that, and I give it to a lot of people.
And what happened with her? What has she become now, my kombucha
It's
mothership?
been like a 3 or 4 big mother kombucha. Huge.
But what has she become? Is somebody wearing her now, or has she become makeup? What is this? What have you turned her into?
I wish they may. There is a company they want to try to use kombucha, just the fungus, to create some
Leather jackets.
textiles,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a leather
Yeah,
jacket.
yeah, yeah.
yes.
This is the fashion. Whereas you've decided to go for pineapple. We'll watch the video first, and then I'll ask you why pineapple, not kombucha.
All right, let's do
Okay.
that.
From fast fashion, consequently ending up in landfills, to the chemicals used in the making of those products affecting our oceans, we live in a time where consumerism is at an all-time high. This is causing a great negative impact on our environment and our planet. My name is Mauricio Murillo. I am the co-founder of FIBO, Farming Innovation by Product Operations. So what is FIBO? By utilizing new and existing technologies to innovate new methods for the collection and processing of raw fibers from crops and Australian first, we aim to introduce commercially scalable fiber for export to international markets, including fashion, textiles, furniture, automotive, medical, and construction, just to name a few. Our goals in the next 6 to 18 months are to capitalize on unvalued agricultural waste, starting with pulp, pineapple leaf fiber, spearheading a completely new industry for Australia in sustainable textiles. We aim to work closely with Australian and international farmers to increase the number of harvests per year. This will be done by clearing agricultural waste from their crop fields efficiently, allowing farmers to get on with the next harvest immediately, meaning an increase in productivity, personal time off, and yearly earnings of up to 30% for our farmers. And as a result, we will see an increase in pulp production for FIBO, securing volume, quality, and consistency of market-ready fiber. We at FIBO are calling this agricultural mining. Presently, there are no companies in Australia producing pulp in a scalable model, let alone commercialized for global distribution. Around the world, we see only small communities in remote areas processing around 7 to 10 kilos per day with no automated machinery or scalable distribution channels. This means with our machinery having the capability of processing half a ton per hour, we aim to be clearing one farm every 33 days. With over 800 pineapple farms in Australia alone, equaling approximately 40,000 acres and averaging 202.5 tons of clean processed pulp per farm at $15 a kilo, FIBO has the opportunity to capitalize on a $2.4 billion untouched industry. That's an average of $3 million per farm every 18 months. So how did the idea for FIBO come about? In 2016, I was based in London and having just started a sustainable clothing company, but lacking on the supply chain for the raw material to make our garments, with only one startup in Southern Asia supplying pulp, I saw an opportunity at home to not only capitalize on a new textile industry, but also a chance to make a sustainable and profitable impact on our farming practices. Along with my father and our co-founder, Mauricio Murillo, a biotechnologist with over 7 years of byproduct and composite experience behind him, we are strongly committed to seeing this vision and scale up for global export by the end of 2019. FIBO will be the leader in this field where others lack technology, know-how, and partnerships. We will succeed both at home and internationally.
Very good.
Yeah, well, you guys have done your research. So yes, that answers the question. Why pineapple, not kombucha?
Actually, I did a lot of research about kombucha, and kombucha takes a little bit more work in terms of growing, and it's a lot of efforts in terms of production. Well, you find the agricultural waste, especially pineapple pulp, everywhere, and it's a free resource, and is a problem for the farmers because they need to spend between 200 hours a year just cleaning the crops, just and fumigating and spraying insecticides and herbicides just to prepare the soil for the next crop. And that's why I thought we must go to something a little bit more sustainable in terms of agricultural waste. We waste a lot. We don't use even 10-50% on our crops. It's just everything is just waste. The way we buy in the supermarket, the way we were told that everything needs to be perfect, that's keep us as a way of buying seconds or maybe using other plants, other parts of the plants, and obtain different other products. That's why we decide to go with the pineapple. And it's Australian.
It's a local resource, yeah. And you've you've traveled all over the world with your other work with the coffee. So you've been to Vietnam and Uganda and Kenya. So I think certainly compared to Jeff and me, you've really had direct contact with the farmers on the ground who are trying to make a living. And as you traveled over the decades, have you sort of I know Richard Attenborough is quite big on that. He can actually chart how things have changed through the 60s, 70s to now. Have you seen things getting better for the really poor sustenance farmers, or are things getting worse?
I think it's getting worse. It's getting a little bit worse. And basically, there was an attempt to create specialty coffees. And there was a market for these coffees to be paid in auctions and be recognized for the traceability of the coffee and how they benefit the farmers and the towns and the people. But in some ways has been abused by lots of international organizations creating fake certificates. They are not very fair. They charge $6,000 to $8,000 to get a fair certificate of fairness, which is not fair. And also they charge many other stuff. I think there is a catch-22 problems with the coffee industry and the way we pursue. We should not tolerate this anymore. We should be more open into see not just the traceability, but check. Because in Australia, there are 2 or 3 big importers and they sell everything online. And basically everything is based on quantity and price. It's not about who is producing and what quality. It's all about consumerism. And this makes the coffee farmers not getting the right pay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that. And you mentioned earlier that that your Mr. Coffees, which is an online, you can basically buy online coffee that you pay higher amounts. I'm really interested because certainly back in 2008, my mother and our family was quite involved in the whole fair trade, and Oxfam was as well, in the whole fair trade movement, petitioning the Woolworths and Coles to basically stock fair trade coffee and chocolate and tea. And so we kind of thought, well, that was a victory. So I'm a bit distressed to hear from you that behind the scenes is not really working. It's
No, it's a tool for selling. It's a marketing tool. That's pretty much it.
So when I go to BP and I buy a fair trade Rainforest Alliance coffee, that's
not
good enough in your.
No.
You've been there, and what have you seen firsthand? Like
majority of the certification, the money goes straight to the pockets or paying staff or people they looking to compete to get into big chains and sell coffee in supermarkets and that sort of thing. It's a tool for marketing. That's pretty much it. Yes. It's not real. No, it's not. It's not enough. I think if you really want to help the coffee communities, the farmers, the best thing is to check websites of the roasters and check where they buy directly, and make questions when you go to your cafe and ask who provide the coffee for you. What is the traceability? Why don't you show us? And this and that. How much did you pay for this? And how much is the farmer getting? And a lot of people they want answer. They cannot answer because they don't even have a clue. They just work for the people to please the sake of drinking good quality coffee. The rest of the world is struggling.
So when you yourself started sourcing these coffee fruit that you're using for the Cascara tea, sort of how did you select the farms from which you would be buying?
In Australia, in the last year, in 2020, has been a big change in the way people started thinking in ways that they looking more about promoting sustainable local products. And I approached Tom Mountain Coffee, and they were throwing all this Cascara, but I think this year they trying to process by themselves, which is good because at least they start getting extra income. And we work with the small producers from Mount Tambourine and other crops in North New South Wales, and at least there are attempts of working and drying the coffee fruit. And I will say Cascara tea, which is coffee fruit tea, it will become popular soon. Yeah, I hope so, because we'll help to maintain and support these communities in Australia. They try to grow good quality coffee as well, and in the rest of the world as well. A lot of people are trying to change ways, and I think it's a big upcycling community growing very fast in America. My daughter in Australia is using a lot of the extract from the coffee fruit that we supply, and she's producing coffee fruit bars. Her company is called Ungrounded, and basically they're going crazy because the amount of antioxidants in the fruit bar is amazing, and it's not really caffeine there. It's just nutrition, and it's protein based. Yes.
There's hope in terms of, and so that's why you're pursuing doing the byproducts, because that might give the farmers more money as
Definitely.
well. And
definitely gives recuperate at least 25% of the agricultural waste from coffee, and that means instead of using 9%, which is the bean, they will start using 34%, which is the bean and the coffee, which is good. I mean, will be ideal if they can use the leaves, and that they can use the timber, and they use another stuff. But at least they start using the coffee fruit, and still they needs to refine the process. But it's a good start. Yes.
So you mentioned 40 products from coffee. So we've got the coffee tea, we've got the coffee scrub. What
We
else?
are a
Fruit
scab.
grass, oops.
From the coffee plant, you can get the flowers as well. Sometimes you can make tea from the flowers, dry the leaves, and make tea from the leaves. The timber, from some of the mucilage, you can extract some antioxidants. From the grounds, you get lots of you get extract the caffeine as well. People use the coffee oil. You also extract some colorants that can be used natural for the dyeing industry.
For hair.
For the hair. Just name it. There are lots of different uses of different parts of the coffee husk, which is a product after you roast. We process the coffee husk, and we are using it for mixing with the pineapple waste, and creating the eco pots. Basically, there's just a lot of potential, and we're happy to give people advice if they need some help, and we're happy to integrate the communities. I'm really happy to be part of the cycling community in Australia. If they want to know more, happy to travel wherever they want, and give some more information, and engage people in these new upcycling conscious byproducts. Yes, definitely.
All right, I've got this video ready to go. What's this one? What's this one about?
It's from Uganda. Mm-hmm.
Uganda. Mr. Eddie Oman.
Yeah.
We are a SCAPA, a social enterprise application for the coffee world, with social, economic, and sustainable impact that will improve the income and livelihood of all coffee growers by better forecasting the real situation of a coffee farm. After 6 years of research and trials, we launched in Uganda, a great place to showcase the benefits of SCAPA. We visited a large number of coffee farms and we were overwhelmed with their growth potential. SCAPA can help you forecast an economic estimate when sustainable measures are taken, minimizing the economic and environmental risk. So, with this, we can empower farmers and open the doors to better business processes, including the benefits of coffee byproducts. So, who do we work with? Organic, non-organic, sustainable, non-sustainable, small, medium, large coffee producers. Our goal is to empower coffee farmers around the world to better understand the market in which their livelihood depends. Through education, the latest technology, and over 3 decades of industry experience, we aim to minimize the risk and maximize the profits of undervalued coffee farms, help them improve revenue, quality, and develop coffee byproducts as a whole additional avenue of income. We want to welcome you to implement and take advantage of all the benefits we offer, maximizing this opportunity at zero cost.
Pretty interesting, isn't it? Hey, what reminds me is that all farmers, no matter where they're located on the planet, they all cop a raw deal, don't they? I mean, here in Australia, dairy farmers, I mean, they've been driven off their land because of Woolworths and Coles and their 1 litre milk prices. We've seen cooperatives, who've been whipped into shape by investment bankers who've told the cooperative, if you sell your business to a corporation, you'll get value for money for shares and all that stuff. Only to see, the likes of that disseminate their returns we've seen in that industry. We've seen the meat industry where the conglomerate came together and what?
Oh, it's just really noisy.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we've seen how running a Meatworks 24/7 has put out all the other cooperatives, meat companies that were providing an incentive for farmers to send their stock, and then they get a return on the kill and the actual overseas price. So corporations might be operating in Australia, but actually having basically a sales and marketing operation either in Singapore with a bank account in the Cayman Islands, where they pay their tax in the sense of wages and salaries and excise tax, and then they're paying their import duty on products coming in. Then superannuation, high levy, bloating, the fuel levy. I mean, there's tax, and then at the end of the day, they get taxed on their profits. So they try to compete by remaining offshore. So it makes it extremely hard to sort of compete with those type of individuals who've got the likes of international accountants who are working in their favour to maximise their returns. It always seems to me that the actual individual who produces the product ends up with 10% of the actual sale price by the time everybody's come through the marketing chain. So how do you see yourself, if anything, to compete against that multinational, no boundary tax minimalisation organisations? I mean, that's basically what you're coming up against, isn't it?
Very, very true. I think it's a change in mentality now. There are small groups of people, they are pursuing buying local, food for life, basically a small group of upcycling. I think it's a new revolution, the way we need to educate how we're going to eat in the next 10 to 20 or 30 years. And the way we are doing, polluting the planet with plastics and packaging and materials and process and chemicals and everything else, it needs to change. Is damaging the human health, and it's not sustainable. And we need to start protecting our planet. We need to protect our bodies. We need to protect our income. That's pretty much that. We need to start thinking more local, and definitely if we buy local, there will be a moment where these corporations, they have to change their mentality, and they start buying our small companies. But in some ways, they have to change their strategy to market the product. They have to be more open and more direct. Yes, it will take time.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a grassroots movement. Certainly when I go to the local markets, I find that there's actually a lot of young people who are growing mushrooms, like edible mushrooms, not the other type. I bought some bulk organic pulses and lentils, and they were completely unpackaged. They were just like, in the old days in the markets, and cloth and fiber. Yes. And I just love that, because I just hate going to the supermarket and buying stuff in plastic packaging. So a lot of people are going to the markets now, and they want to know who they're buying it from. And I guess even when we're making our food now, I made some nut clusters today, but with macadamias that come from our tree, blueberries that are local. Yes. And unpackaged. And I think if we really not just sort of complain, or sort of if we actually take action with those on a personal level, then hopefully there will be enough support and enough market for companies like yours that are trying to do the right thing and live sustainably.
But then we've got bureaucracy. So, I mean, if you're importing coffee from Colombia, I mean, you got to come in through quarantine here, and you'll get samples taken away to get lab tested. They want to know the labeling requirements of where it's been produced and the expiry date. The ramifications for someone like Mauricio bringing in a food product into Australia. It's almost like you have to have the product as a finished product rather than in a raw form. So, I mean, but that comes back to natural foods being grown in your own area that merges with your own locality for your own physical immune system in it. So, wherever you go, you have some sort of roadblock that's been put up by some interested party to create a public service. That's just how I see it. Yeah. But for someone like yourself, Julie, who goes to the markets and you see all the raw product there, there'd be some do-gooder who come bloody complain and say, oh, you need labelling on that. So the cost of having someone just sitting there putting a little label on a banana, that they do with oranges and stuff like that. It's just another. We don't want that, do we? We want that fresh produce to come straight through from the farm to the actual end user. At the end of the day, just a logistic chain that needs to be looked at, and how do you sustain the product in cold storage or other form of refrigeration to maximize its longevity. Otherwise, you got waste again, which is another factor that you have to build into your cost at the end user in it. So the farmer might say 10 cents, and then he might see that the end product is $1, and of that $1, 30 cents might have been gone and wasted because the product, when it got to the shelves of Coles or Woolies or wherever, has degraded. So a lot of people need to take into account the whole logistical chain. So it's a tough bloody call, isn't it, when you start looking at it?
Yeah, I think basically with the way people are trading now, there is an opportunity to buy directly from farmers now. You can buy now the communities. I know there are people, they sell package of fruit and veggies, organic. They produce and they can be delivered to your place. You just go to online and order. I think there is a good trend to support the locals. In some ways, they will make people to get more benefits and more nutritious products, and you don't really need too much product, because even you buy less because the price maybe is higher, the quality in vitamins and minerals is very high, and you don't have to worry keeping in storage in refrigeration and wasting energy and time and throwing stuff at the end of the week because you don't have time to cook or something like that. It's just use what you need and educate yourself and just buy what you need, and try to change your habits or ways that you buy your food. Instead of trying to get into the supermarkets, just support the local ones. I mean, maybe there are supermarkets, they start changing. I see a tens of some supermarkets getting into organics, but I think it's a good way to start thinking, not supporting these big organizations to tell you what to eat and how to eat and when to eat and how to store and everything else. It's just your decision, your body, your soul, is your everything. And if you don't have control over yourself, then who else giving everything to organizations to control? No, I think it's good time to start at least having the right to buy what you need, and everything else when they will go away once we start changing our habits. They will see it's no support, it's no viable in terms of monies, it's no profitable, then they will change it. They will say that this is not the right way, we need to find another way, and the time they will find another way, it's too late. So more people are joining this new upcycling and clean movement.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think if we exercise our own independence in terms of deciding what we're going to eat and where we're going to source it from and how whether we want it packaged or not, processed or not, local or not, that we are the consumers are king. Technically, the markets, the corporates or the suppliers will follow, and if we can help our local pineapple and coffee growers and cane growers,
Yes,
diversify, which they need to, because at the moment the equation isn't stacking up for us or for the environment. I think it's great. You've got the brains, the innovation. You've got young people. You're looking for people at the moment to join the team, I understand.
Yes. Basically, we're looking for people. They want to join our team. They can contact me. We have different possible jobs available in the near future, which is 1 to 3 months. We need people in the farms. We need people. They come with the skills to help us in the logistics and also helping us with the research. We're very lucky that we have a team of mainly international students that were trapped here because of the coronavirus. But we managed to integrate at least 1 or 2 locals now, which is great. And if we can get support from the farmers and the communities, and we can teach them what to do, and we can transfer that technology, and we are happy to start integrating that knowledge into more and more people, and definitely we can create new upcycling products, more local, more benefits, more income. Yes.
Yeah, and I think farmers always, I think it's great news for farmers. They're always trying to, I think most farmers you talk to, they really care for the land. They will do anything they can to try and keep it going, unless it really just becomes completely uneconomic and then they have to give up. So someone like you with, a younger international team that also has the R&D and experience as to how to upcycle or use the, the byproducts and give them other opportunities there. Well, I think that will. They should be able to get in touch with you and explore. There's no harm in exploring and see what's possible.
Yeah, there is potential everywhere. Even with any other ways, we can do some work with other organization. They're trying to clean their towns, and yes, I think it's a good moment to think about the potential for the Australian jobs, especially for young generations to come, and get involved more into local processing and the materials as well. All the materials that we processing and basically we're obtaining can be converted in many other things. And yes, huge potential. Bioplastics is one of them. All the packaging material for products to be exported or to be consumed in other ways, supermarkets. This is an example of EcoPot, which is avoid any plastic, and the plant will eat the pot and integrate into the soil. We're experimenting with coffee waste and pineapple waste and sugarcane waste. And so far, we are managed to start integrating in some local markets. If people are interested to get these EcoPots, we're happy to provide the materials, and we teach them how to make it. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's really exciting because I think there will be more people making things themselves, artisans and hand weavers and creators in fashion. So, Jeff, you reckon anybody in New Zealand might be interested in any of this?
What component? Because New Zealand is probably well ahead of the curve, and because it's a small country, it learnt to be innovative when it didn't have the actual overseas currency. Like all countries, like South Africa, when they were placed under sanctions, they made just self-reliant. So New Zealand was one of those countries that became self-reliant. So you'll find that the Kiwi went into all these different foods. They're growing all this different crops and turning into like wines, or they're turning like fermented wines, fermented drinks, or fizzy drinks and stuff like that. I mean, they're quite innovative, but it's a small country, so logistically it doesn't take long to get to the major markets. And if you can buddy succeed in New Zealand, then you can succeed anywhere in the world, because if you can be in the Auckland metro area and get your product down to Invercargill, just that logistical chain to get there and the distribution chain, if you can buddy make that work, then you can make it work anywhere. If anyone's watching the show from New Zealand, I think it'd be well worth reaching out to Mauricio, and I'll just put up his mobile phone there. Ready to go.
Yep.
Where did it go, Sheree?
So people can contact. There you go. Ring.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see.
We have our website as fibogroup.com.au. You can go into that website. We also have Instagram, fibogroup.com, I think .au as well. You can follow us in LinkedIn, or you can follow us in, I think, Facebook as well. We're going to start a series of videos, educational videos about the byproducts, and basically teaching people very basics how to use it and where to obtain these things. And they can contact us through mrcoffees.com, coffees with the S, mrcoffees.com. And we can help with the coffee industry as well, or with any other thing. We're working with cacao, or we also working with the sweet potato as well. We're doing some attempts to dry some fruits. We got some interest from the New Zealand people a long time about some fruit and veggies. They can be processed in a new methods, extrusion and making more into drying in a way they can obtain a little bit more nutrients. But I think what you say is true. Is New Zealanders are very innovative people, and I think they've been showing the world the capacity of producing different stuff. But I think we need to start doing exactly the same here in Australia and living by example.
The only issue with New Zealand is that it's in the southern hemisphere, and it's if you're going for its northern hemisphere neighbours, I mean, it's the transportation costs to get it into those European, North American, Asian markets. You know, so you have to work together. I remember years and years ago, the shipping industry is considered to be a cartel, and a legal cartel. Purely because when originally the shipping started to come into Australia and New Zealand, it only come for the wool or the meat season. As a result, they weren't here for 6-7 months of the year. So the early Federation politicians who had life skills, not university degrees. So I repeat that statement again. Politicians with life skills and not with degrees from universities who made Australia where it was today because they had common sense. So the common sense was, well, we came from British stock and that's who we know, and we know we can trust them if they were to give us a bill of exchange. And as a result, if they put an order in and they got a bill of exchange, we could trust them to pay the bill. And so those Cuddy Sark ships would come down there, we'd load them up with bales of wool and some meat, salt meat, send it off. And the next time the ship came, we got our money. Yeah. So the thing here is that the Commonwealth actually helped and assisted Australia and all the other Commonwealth countries to actually trade and do commerce and business with each other. And of course, the other colonials up there in Europe, particularly the Germans and the Dutch and the Belgian and the French and the Spanish, all come down the African coast or into the Caribbean or South America to do their trade. So we all built relationships on people who we knew. So this whole concept of selling a product is nothing new, but when our early Federation politicians with common sense said, right, how are we going to get these shipping companies to come here 12 months a year? So they sat down with them and said, look, how about you take this away and come up with a concept where you can bring a ship or ships throughout 12 months. And so they came up with this concept of a conference. So there's 3 people in the studio. So each of us have got 2 ships each. And then we would proceed to put them in an Indian file. So Mauricio, your ship would go this week, and 2 weeks' time, Julia's ship would go, and then another 2 weeks after that, my ship would go, and then 2 weeks after that, Mauricio's. But in order for that to take place, each one of us gave space on each other's ships. So we had our clientele, and we could actually then offer space on each other's ships. So as a result, the conference became the only legal cartel in Australia and New Zealand. And that's how we got our shipping to come into here 12 months a year. So as a result of that logistical system, Australia prospered. And today, Australia and New Zealand basically down there at the bottom of the southern hemisphere. But if it wasn't for the British and before we went into the European Union, there's guys like Thomas Borthwicks and Waddell with their chain of butcher shops and so forth. Who set up the meat pastoral industry in Australia, and that kicked Australia along quite substantially. Our sugarcane industry was wiped out purely by the European Union with a subsidy for sugar beet. And of course, once the Europeans got into sugar beet, they had all the sugar, and that sort of basically forced the price of sugar down, knocked out our own sugarcane growers here in Australia and the Caribbean. So and that was just artificial stimulus by subsidy. I mean, farming is always handpicked by certain individuals. I mean, in Japan, their car industry, they've made inroads into the world market with fine engineering. But you try and put an Australian agricultural product into Japan, boom, you're going to get met with those closed doors. You got to jump over hoops and all that stuff. It's not a level playing field because the rural economy of Japan is very much integrated with their society. And so, farming is, might be farmed on about a quarter of an acre, might be on a hillside, but I mean, the Japs don't give a hoot,
Yeah, well, I think everyone's going to do what they can to protect their farmers. And I guess, Maurizio, with your company, we've got an opportunity for us as individual consumers to actually help or, support our farmers by looking for those new products that they're creating as an additional product to the stuff that they're selling into the cartel or outside of the cartel. So, yeah.
That's right. It's a good thing to think to protect our local produce, especially because Australia has lots of native produce. They have a lot of different fruits and things that you cannot find anywhere. And I think it's good time to start thinking locally in terms of it's just generating just not the income from these crops, but also the byproducts they can generate, like avocados, the macadamias, all this stuff that can be processed locally and upcycling.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised, Byron Bay and all that. Chris Hemsworth is so famous that I was in Colorado 2 years ago, and some yogurt company from Noosa is selling really well in Colorado.
Wow.
Because of Chris Hemsworth and how popular he is. So, I think it could work both ways.
Yes.
Colorado is the largest grower of cannabis.
That's why they like yogurt from Noosa. Okay.
Probably.
No, they're beautiful. They've got the mountains. Yeah.
I was in Vancouver, BC, going through the other Canadian side to go into the American side, and Chris Hemsworth in the same, you go through the lines to go to customs.
Yeah.
So you could hear his accent, you could hear ours, and as you know, you just don't acknowledge. You just go, mate, move on, don't you? Yeah. Don't go and ask for an autograph. Hey, well, Mauricio. Okay, so the dream is what? The dream today, coming on the radio, so and people watching, is to say, listen, I've put my head up. I'm a bit like those meerkats. I've put my head up. I'm looking around.
Yes.
Seeing what's going on, and then realizing, okay, we've got something here that we can turn the 6 million tons of waste into something that's going to be a biodegradable biomass, whatever you want to look at it. I mean, the Rocky Point sugar mill down here in Queensland, just down the road of Gold Coast, they went to biomass as a form of fuel, electricity. And of course, the encroachment of suburbia is seen demoralization, I suppose, of that industry, purely because the sugar canes have been swept up by developers and they're getting more money than they would have done working in the sun, planting sugarcane and harvesting sugarcane. So it's always comes down to the dollar at the end of the day. Unfortunately, that's our society. It's been created that dollar is a dollar, isn't it? So
yeah. I think the dream today is to open the eyes and start dreaming awake and knowing what is around you and what can you upcycle. How can you become a little bit more connected to local communities and engage with that sort of produce and get the best of benefits from the locals and use basically more sustainable byproducts. I think that's the dream, and I think that dream will become reality.
I know in Russia, they've got Dutches, isn't it? So Russians get allocated a plot to grow fruit and veggies, and it was through that sustained Russia through 2 world wars. And of course, England has the same with their community gardens. I know that here in Logan City, which for those people listening would be between Brisbane and the Gold Coast, they've got community gardens at Marsden, Crestmead, but there's also the Logan Food Growers run by Lynn Buffett, and they do little mini tours around within a 60-kilometre radius so that people can see how people have sustained a little property in terms of what they can grow based on the pH of the soil and how to add nutrients to the soil and bring the minerals. And some have actually gone a bit step further and are using the elementals of Divas, which is the spiritual world, and working with them and Pan. And it's quite a depth to it. I mean, anyone who's followed Rudolf Steiner would understand where we're going with the subject, or if anyone has been following the Findhorn community up in Scotland would really learn a lot about how to bring all the various kingdoms and work together and bring in nutrition. I mean, at the end of the day, it is nutrition, and it starts from the food you grow and what's in your soil or what's in the water as you, if you're using water farming or air farming, these new techniques, and then bringing that vitality through the food chain, because we're part of the food chain. And at this moment in time, we're actually eating, what would you call it, dead food.
Totally true.
Yeah.
Totally true, yeah. The processed, dead, low vitamin, low minerals, everything is degraded by the genetically modify and all the experimentation they've been done, because they competing with prices, and they tell us where to buy and how to buy. And if we choose to grow our own, I will say, and use all the waste and create composting or materials or benefit from those crops we generating as well. Definitely, I think people will be more healthy and more smart. They can get less spending of money. They can use the money in a wise way of buying what they really need and no superficial buying. I think it's time to start taking our future in our hands and open the eyes and be a little bit more conscious about not wasting, upcycling. It's a new word, and it's not recycling, it's upcycling, which is more giving the use of putting a new product or anything about and all the benefits of those products. We can upcycle different stuff. We can upcycle furniture. We can upcycle anything, basically. But if we upcycle agricultural waste, which is the main waste, it's more polluted now than even the plastics and everything else, because they are fumigated every day, and they have to be clean, and they have to be rotten, and it's a lot of work and energy waste. And we always see, we put the eyes in the plastic, but it's still plastic is a big problem, but agricultural waste is a bigger one. It's 90% of the waste of what we produce, we throw, or we leave it, or we don't use it. And we're complaining because it's not enough resources. We don't want to see. That's it.
Yeah. Well, Mauricio, thank you for opening our eyes to that. I didn't actually know that about agricultural waste and what they have to do to try and get rid of it so that they can grow the other crop. But dead food. I agree with you both, gentlemen. I keep on opening this jar and smelling it because it's just so beautiful. It's so alive. And so, Mauricio, thank you for coming on the show, showing us it's possible. You're wearing an upcycled shirt, from FIBO.
Yes, I am.
Fed us the tea. So thanks for coming on the show and showing, everybody that it is possible to follow that dream.
Yes. Thank you for inviting me today, and I hope I can give some help and advice. Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Jeff. I think that what you're doing, Living the Dream, is an amazing program, and I think everyone needs to start doing that, living the dream. Yep.
Great.
Thank you.
Living the dream, everyone.
Thank you very much.